Trey, you've played several seasons in the NFL. You're a free agent right now. What's next for you?
I don't know, man. I'm kind of sitting back and waiting to see and the offers and the opportunities and trying to figure out, what's going to be next for my family and I. And I don't really have an honest answer for you, you know what I mean? Because we're waiting to see what's going on and what's going to happen.
Are you still pursuing options in the NFL? Like you still do want to play if an opportunity will arise?
Yeah. I think, I mean, it's going to be hard to pass up on any really good opportunity. And so I think, after the draft happens and teams figure out who they got, who they can get, those types of things, and we'll have a lot more answers. But as of right now, I'm just enjoying my time with the fam.
I know you're a guy who's prepared for the next chapter of your life. How do you figure out what to do? Is that something that you go, it's a bridge I'll cross when I get to it? Or are these conversations something that you and your wife have had and you're getting ready for just in case?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think ever since my first year in Philly, nothing was guaranteed, so you didn't know if you're going to be on the team the next year or the following year. And so I think, ever since then, we realized how important it was to, find other streams of revenue. And so we've always been on the prowl, I guess, to figure out what we wanted to do next and what the opportunities were and, who we could connect with and stuff. And so I think we've done a decent job with the University of Florida, with the cities that we've played in, meeting people who do things that we are interested in. And so I think in order to I mean, you definitely can do it, cut cold turkey as soon as you're done with the league, figure out what you want to do. But I think it's easier if you, have kind of like a trial and error during the off seasons. The last 7 off seasons I've had, I try to figure out what we wanted to do. And so I think that's kind of helped me.
There's a lot of crossover between two of your former teams, the Eagles and the Colts. Carson Wentz is now in Indy. Nick Sirianni's coaching in Philly. We know Frank Reich's already been in Indianapolis. You and Carson, I know, are close. Have you talked to him about playing for Frank Reich again and how excited he is?
Yeah, we've talked a couple times. I think he's extremely excited to be in Indy. I think it's going to be an awesome fit for him. Every time a player goes to another organization, you try to reach out to people who you've known in the past or who you might have went to college with or, whatever the scenario is, especially for the families. It's kind of hard for the wives and the kids to get up and move to a whole nother area where they might not know anybody. And so the conversations have been more of like, what is it like there? Who is in the building? What do these people believe in? What do they like to do? Kind of what's their theory on things and, kind of like offensive scheme stuff, the different terminology, just basic, bare minimal, just conversations like that.
You had an opportunity, obviously, to play for Nick Sirianni for 1 year. I spoke to Jacoby Brissett, who played for him for the 3 seasons in Indy as offensive coordinator. What do you think of, and Jacoby had high praise for Nick, talking about just how well he prepares guys. What do you think he'll be able to do in Philadelphia as a head coach?
I think he does an awesome job with young players, guys who just get into the league to kind of hold them accountable no matter where they've been drafted. And then also like teach them and help them learn. He's really hands-on. I think that benefits the younger guys. Obviously not to say that he's not going to do well with the older guys as well. I think he's going to fit in. I think just with how young he is, I think he's going to fit in perfectly with the older vets. And he's going to get the respect, right off the bat. I think, as you can tell from the first couple interviews he's done with the Philly media, he loves ball and all he wants to do is talk about football. And he is one of the best game planners and schemers that I've been around. And I think he's going to do a really good job in Philly.
Yeah, that shines through, man. His love, his excitement, his energy level, it just
Yeah.
really comes through. And we've only had a couple opportunities to talk to him since then. It's been a few years since you were in Philly. You went to Chicago. What was that journey like for you, leaving here after as high as you were, winning the Super Bowl, throwing that touchdown pass, and then having to leave Philadelphia, go to Chicago and take that journey? What's it been like for you?
Yeah, I think the timing sucked, obviously, winning and then not being able to fully experience the post Super Bowl when I was at the parade. Obviously, I was at the ring ceremony, like the 2 biggest events, but just being in the city, for those times, those months after winning the Super Bowl. I wish I would have been able to be there for that. But I was really excited to go to Chicago. I have a ton of respect for Matt Nagy and the new regime that they had whenever I was my first year there in Chicago. And I was really, really excited for it. It's like I said earlier, it's tough for the families just because you leave something that anytime you leave being comfortable to, stretch yourself a little bit and go to a new area, it's obviously tough. And so there's making new friends, meeting new people, all those types of things that comes with a new job was tough. But, I definitely enjoyed my time there in Chicago. It's just completely different. I'm from a small city south of Tampa, hour and a half south of Tampa, where like the average age is 67 years old, so, or 64 years old. So like, I don't really know much about big cities, but having to live in Philly, having lived in Chicago, it's just a lot different for me. And I really enjoyed my time and the experiences that I've had in those two awesome cities.
What sticks out to you the most about that Super Bowl run? Obviously, there's been a tremendous amount of memories that you made, but what sticks out to you the most about that? And obviously, we've talked in the past, you and I, about the relationships, the camaraderie, the brotherhood, the faith and the unity that the guys have. But what is it for you that you look back on and remember?
That locker room was just different. You want to talk about trust, and then want to talk about like the next man up mentality. Like that's all we had to work with. Guys were getting injured. I mean, Hall of Fame players, multiple, guys, Pro Bowlers, multiple Pro Bowlers are getting hurt and knocked out for the season. And it was just the next man up. And it just kind of showed like the faith that the guys had. It kind of showed the roster that was put together, at that time in Philly. And man, just like the fans and the experience and just the camaraderie. And I guess I would just say the locker room is what, if I like have to go back and do something again, I would just, or take something from that, it would be the locker room and the guys that were in the locker room and how much fun we had during those days.
Does it surprise you that it's only been a few years and Doug's gone, Carson's gone, that there's been so much change? You're gone. Looks like Zach is on his way out. So many players have left. Does it surprise you at all?
I think to a degree. I was really surprised at the season that they had, the last year or so. I guess it was just 1 year last year. And obviously, I was really surprised that Carson was gone. And it's crazy to see how fast everything changed, for him. I mean, from being the front runner for the NFL MVP to 2 years or 3 years later, like gone or traded or whatever. And so definitely was surprised by that. I think the Doug thing was a surprise too, as well, because of how fast everything happened. But every year there's turnover in the NFL. And so I'm sure that they're trying to find the guys, right now to bring them back to where they were.
Trey, you did an interview recently, and a clip of that continues to be shown over and over and over in Philly, where you talked about the front office structure is different in Philadelphia as opposed to was in Chicago and Indianapolis, because in Philly, Howie Roseman is involved in so many aspects of it. What did you mean by that? And is that through the experience that you had, obviously, in Chicago and Indianapolis?
Yeah, I've been able to experience three unbelievable organizations. And so every company, every organization, every charity is ran differently, no matter what the cause is or how likewise or how similar what they're doing is. And so it's just been really fun for me and my family just to experience the difference in the NFL and the difference in the owners and difference in the GMs and the head coaches. And so I've been extremely fortunate, man, to play for a bunch of great coaches and be a part of a really cool organizations. And so I in no mean meant, to be negative about that. Just being honest. I mean, you and I are different. We have a lot of same beliefs, but we're different. We're different people. We grew up different. We experience different things. So like, I always try to be honest, with what I have to say. And so I didn't mean anything negative by any means. I just meant that everything is different and different organizations, different people.
Trey, you've partnered up with International Justice Mission. I know we talked about them a few years ago to help stop human trafficking. It's something that I'm passionate about. You're passionate about. I love the work that they do. What do you like about them, and what made you want to partner with IJM?
Yeah, I mean, well, a lot of reasons. I mean, I think the first statistic that I was told, 7 years or so ago about slavery is that there's 40 million people trapped in slavery right now around the world. And that number is just absolutely staggering. And I think recently they just came out with a stat that like that's enough people to fill each NFL stadium, multiple times. And so like for me, that hits home because I play in the NFL and I've been to a lot of stadiums, and dude, like for each stadium to be filled, multiple times, it's unbelievable. And obviously we believe that there's no place in the world for that. And so I would say 7 years ago, my wife and I decided to go all in with them. we love them because for multiple reasons, just the need that there is there for the children that are being trafficked. I have 3 young kids, and the kids that are being forced into labor and forced into sex trafficking. I mean, there's multiple different types of slavery. There's no place in the world for that. And then also the fact that they don't just put a Band-Aid on the problem. They're not going into other countries, guns blazing, rescuing girls. They're changing laws. They're making sure, presidents and vice presidents and district attorneys and lawyers are understand what the law is and how to enforce the law. They're training local police officers, and local military in these countries to enforce the laws that were in place, but, were never necessarily enforced at the time, and kind of just showing these countries the issues. And it's been really cool to watch these countries rebound and realize what's really happening, right under their noses, and take initiative, to end what's going on in their countries.
I know you visited IJM's office in the Dominican Republic. What was that experience like for you? What do you recall seeing as you were going through there?
Yeah, it's just really eye-opening. Every time I've done a trip like that, you always expect to I'm going to go over to this country and, going to change someone's life or change the world, and when those trips are done, you realize dude, I've actually been the one who's been affected probably more than anybody else, just because of how heartbroken, how eye-opening the situations are. And I think, the biggest thing I've taken away from the couple times I've been to the Dominican is seeing IJM's work firsthand, what they actually do, how they change these laws, how they're meeting with these government officials on a daily basis, and getting these laws enforced and changing, the culture there, which is unbelievable. But then on the human side of it, these are real people, meeting survivors and having conversations with them. And we played pickup basketball, with them. And I mean, they're kids, that should never have to experience these horrible acts that they're experiencing. And so that really made it real for me, actually meeting these people and knowing, seeing the joy on their face to play basketball or to throw a football around. But knowing what they have just gone through, months prior, it just blew my mind away. And it just, further solidified that this is what, my wife and I truly, what we're doing is truly effective, and it's what we should be doing.
You and several athletes are now involved in an All In for Freedom sweepstakes. The money that's going to be raised is going to go to rescue survivors of human trafficking and violence. Man, I looked at the prize list. There's 35 prizes. There's athletes arted. There a Michael Jordan jersey, a Hank Aaron jersey, a Luke Bryan guitar, and people can spend as little, I believe it's $10 to win a prize and benefit this tremendous cause. What is the prize that you're donating?
Yeah, so I'm going to do a FaceTime or a Zoom with the fan, and then I have a Philly special picture that I'm gonna sign, personalized while I'm on the FaceTime or the Zoom, and send it out to the person. But there's also a Nick Foles Super Bowl jersey as well, signed by him. It's just really cool, man, to see the IJM started this thing called Team Freedom, and it's kind of like the NFL, or not NFL, but all professional athletes coming together and joining the fight in trafficking, but also events like this, being able to give unbelievable prizes and experiences for people. It's just been really cool to see over the last couple of years, just that kind of build, and us being able to interact with fans for an awesome cause. And I feel as a professional athlete, using your platform is probably the most important thing you can do as an athlete. And so to help a cause like this, which people who are doing actual legit work in other countries, is really cool and special.
Tell me about that Philly special play, because it's going to go down as legendary, man, in sports, not just in Philadelphia, but just in sports. When it happened, the time it happened, the score of the game, the magnitude, the Super Bowl. What was going through your mind once that play was called?
I didn't really have much time to think about it, honestly. And even after I threw it, it didn't really even register with me, honestly. I remember going into the locker room at halftime, and I remember Brent Selleck grabbing my helmet and shaking my head and was like, "You just threw a touchdown in the Super Bowl." And I honestly, I didn't even realize it. I didn't realize the magnitude of it until after the game was over. We had won, and just ESPN just repeating it, replaying it, and talking about it. And that's kind of what the media does. They blow it up and make it a bigger deal than what it was at the time, in my opinion. But obviously it was really cool, a lot of fun. Didn't have much time to think about it. Just, natural instincts kind of took over.
Trey, you're a man of strong faith. And as you navigate through different chapters of your life, and depending on what you're going to do and where you're going, how much do you rely on your faith to help you determine your future and your present?
Yeah, I think it's always important to stay connected, and to be connected continuously or constantly every day throughout the day. It's not just a one-time thing or a weekend thing. I think it's a personal relationship. And so I think in my family, and I believe in, like, faith is the most important aspect of deciding where we're going to go or how we're going to do it. And like, if we feel like the Lord's pulling us one way or another, it doesn't really matter, financially or the location or the city. Like, if that's what the Lord wants us to do for work, then that's where we're going to go. And so that's kind of why we've just been sitting back and trying to field offers and opportunities, because we haven't really felt like the Lord's been like, go here. And so, but that's the number one deciding factor. Everything else is, falls behind that. And it's not easy to have that. It's not easy to do that, because you're kind of blind going into things a lot of times. But it always ends up being way more than worth it. So we're excited about the next journey.
I want to remind everybody the sweepstakes for the IJM ends on Friday night. This Friday night, they should go to IJMsweepstakes.org. That's IJMsweepstakes.org. Trey, appreciate all the work that you do for everything, man. Your honesty, your transparency, and who you are as a person.
Rob, great talking to you, bro. Talk to you soon.